Hi there, Loy Machedo, screen from loymachedo.com. There's Loy Machedo. Date today is April 16, 2016. Time right now is 10:38 in the morning. Just wanted to give you my feedback on my experience with Wolfie's bike shop. Now, I got in touch with let me give you his exact name, Wolfgang Homan. Okay, Wolfgang. It's a very big name, but they call him Wolfie. Okay. So I got in touch with Wolfie after I posted a couple of questions on Try to Buy, and he was really I didn't know who he was, and although I did hear about Wolfie's bike shop many a times, and obviously it's a landmark. So he said, Loy, if you have any questions regarding to a bike, just let me know. We'll be glad to help you out. So he gave me his number, and he said, fine. I called him up. I asked him a couple of questions, and he said, listen, if you want to just come down to the shop, and I'm working at Wolfie's bike shop. I was like, oh, okay, so he's the owner of Wolfie's bike shop. Fine. So I went there, but like they say, bad news travels faster than good news, and everyone had this one criticism of Wolfie's bike shop, that everything was overpriced. It was like this place where everything was overpriced. They would charge you a hell of a lot of money, and it's very expensive. So I was like kind of hesitant, but then I said, fine, let me just go there and see for myself. 1 second. So what happened is I went with an open mind. I went there, and but if you dial in your Google Maps, you'll get Wolfie's bike shop as a landmark. Second, that Wolfie's bike shop, and as I entered, I was looking at a huge number of bicycles. There were bicycles there, bicycles there, bicycles everywhere. It was like a full hardcore, cycle shop junkie for a junkie, a cycle junkie. Like everything was there. I was like, oh, okay, quite a number of brands. Very expensive looking bikes, very elegant looking bikes. So straight as I went there was this reception desk that was there, and friendly staff, and everyone was busy. Everyone's busy doing something or another. There was a lot of commotion moving on. So I was like, okay, all right. And obviously, I had informed Wolfie that I'd be coming there, and they asked me, yes, can I help you? And I said, here to meet Wolfie. So they asked me, are you expecting him? I said, yeah, yes. So then Wolfie came out, and he was dressed up like everyone else. Well, like every other staff, he had a badge on like everyone else, and he was like, hi Loy, how are you, and all that. And I kind of told him what I was looking for initially. To tell you honestly, I told him that I'm looking for a very expensive bike, the top of the range, and this and that, and with the most expensive wheels and everything. And so he listened, and then after that he said, okay, just want to ask you a couple of questions. I said, go ahead. So he asked me about cycling experience, which was nearly zero, and he asked me how many years I've been driving and everything else. Once after he got the questions, normally a businessman, if, let's say, I'm a businessman, and a guy comes to me and says, I want to buy your most expensive bike with the most expensive accessory. So a normal businessman would have said, fine, what is your budget? And based on the budget, he or she would take them, okay, fine, this is your budget, this is what I can offer you. But instead, Wolfie didn't actually take me to the most expensive bike. What he said is, see, listen, for me, it's very easy to recommend you the most expensive bike. It will be good for me in terms of business, but that's not what I think would be good for you. What I would recommend for you is to go at not at the lowest level, but at slightly above than a beginner level. And he showed me a very average bike, and he said, the reason for this bike is because it's easier to handle, because you need experience, and over the period of time, as you get experience, you will get better at it, and you can keep upgrading. So he didn't oversell. He didn't give me a bike that was 60,000, 80,000, or whatever. He just went down to the bare minimum, around I think 10 to 15,000 range, and he said, this is what you should take in order for a triathlon. And once you get used to it, then you start buying add-ons. Then I asked him, what about the wheels, expensive wheels? He said, don't actually go for expensive wheels. Go start off training with the basic wheels, get the legs, get the experience, and then after a year of practice, when your legs are there and you feel that you can really move fast, then you put on the wheels and the other accessories for you to improve your aerodynamic position in order to go faster. So, then I was like, okay, the guy is, he's not as bad as they kind of show him to be. Okay, fine. Then after that, he even took me to get the measurements done. So I was like, okay, fine, let me go and get the measurements done. Went there, got the measurements done. They have this professional machine with all laser technology and computerized. They check your height, they check your, how high the seat will come, in between your legs, your crotch area, and then they make you sit on a bike and they measure the angle of your leg and so many other things. Everything is very technical. And these guys, there was King, there was Noel, and they really know their job. Okay, they really know their job. So after all this was done, I kind of got the report, and I wanted to see whether they would give me the report, because normally, this is after they take your measurements, they have got your measurements. Now, obviously, I take the measurements and go somewhere else. So I wanted to see what would they say. So I said, can you just email me the measurements? They said, sure, we'll email you the measurements. So I was like, So he's even ready to give me the measurements. And for me, actually, that kind of showed a level of trust. And I was like, and if this guy is willing to trust me so much, maybe I should do the same. So, and I found out that this, to get a bike fitting and the measurements and everything else was like 1,500. I was like, oh, bloody hell, that's so expensive. Why the hell would someone want to spend that much amount of money? It's crazy. It's ridiculous. So, okay, all this was done, and I had a good time. And, the thing that stood out was he really took the time. Wolfie really took the time to educate me on cycling, on biking, on triathlons, on road bikes, everything. He took his time. So I was very impressed. But still skeptical. I was like, still this guy's a businessman, shouldn't trust him. The following day, or after, a couple of days, I decided, they've been so honest. They've given me my measurements, everything else in an email. They didn't have to. Let me keep my part of the deal. So I took my bike and I went there. And imagine this, I thought I had a bike that was fitted properly. Now the problem that I had on my bike was I could never use the triathlon bars, the racing bars. You call it. You have these long bars that you use for triathlon. You can make out. I'm not very experienced, and I always had lower back pain because when bending, I always felt uncomfortable on my elbows, and I don't know, something was not right. Even when I would try to put on the clips would not go in properly. It was frustrating, and even though I'd taken part in 2 races, I was still not very happy with the bike. Okay. But then again, I guess like people told me, you're not very flexible, you're not very strong in your core and this and that, and you have to get used to the bike. So I took the bike once again to Wolfie, and Wolfie was gracious enough. He came there again and he said, okay, what are the problems with the bike? And I told him everything. And once again, they went through the measurements. And to my surprise, what I assumed would be like a routine check literally took, I think, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. And what do I mean by 2.5 hours? I'm sitting on the bike. They had asked me to bring my clip-on shoes. They had asked me to bring my tights. I'd forgotten my clip-on shoes, so I came the following day again. The guy, King and Noel, imagine 2 technicians, they're sitting with me, and when they're keeping the Arrow racing bikes, racing handles, they were measuring, okay, does this feel comfortable? No? Okay, then they change the screws. Okay, does this feel comfortable? No, they change the screws. Then, does this feel comfortable? And then they lift it up, down, they lift it forward, backward. They adjusted the seat up and down. They adjusted so many things. I mean, it was crazy. And the 2.5 hours were very intense. They involved me in understanding how I feel. And even after I said I'm comfortable, then they again said, okay, fine. Even though you're comfortable, let's try readjusting the seat. Let's see how do you feel if you bend a little more forward. Let's see how do you feel if you bend a little bit backward. There's so many things. And, I was just thinking to myself, here you have one customer who's just average, who's not very rich or whatever, but you have 2 guys who are literally there from beginning to the end. They were very involved, And just think of it as a businessman. You have 2 guys who you're paying money. And instead of having 1 guy per customer, you have 2 guys focusing on 1 customer, just to make sure that he's taken care of, okay? After that part got over, they even recommended some seats, and they said, and he gave me a not very expensive seat. He told me 400 dirhams to try the seat. But then I still didn't feel it was very comfortable, so I told him, what about that seat? He told me that's a little bit more expensive, and I said, let me give it a try. And I asked for that seat, which was nearly, I think, 980 dirhams or 30 dirhams. That's double the price. And I felt that was comfortable. And then again, they just, every time I made a change, they had to readjust and rework the whole thing. And to my surprise, for a guy like me who experts claimed, the so-called experts, I was not flexible and it would take time. I found myself in the racing position pretty comfortable. They had changed even the paddings where my elbows would come. They give me something new, and I was like really glad. I was like, I can actually bend. I have this big tummy right now because I've not been on diet. So the seat felt comfortable, the position felt comfortable, the bike overall felt something new, and I was really appreciative. And yes, it was not cheap, obviously not. But at the same time, I really felt it was worth it. Now, for the critics who kind of slam Wolfie's bike as too expensive, just consider this. Wolfie's bike shop is in a pristine landmark area. It's on Sheikh Zayed Road, which is the most expensive place to have your business set up. Obviously, there are rent, there are electricity, all these other expenses. And then I asked him, how many staff do you have? He said 35. Just think. Now, if I go to the calculator and I say, calculator, just imagine, on an average, if he has 35 staff and he's paying an average, I'm just giving you an average, the baseline salary, he's paying, let's say, 35 into 5,000. Okay, if he's paying everyone just 5,000 flat, it's nearly 175,000 dirhams per month. Let's give a round figure, 200,000. So 200,000, okay, if you're talking 200,000, okay, into 12, the salaries alone come to around 2 million dirhams, okay? So how do you cover your overheads when you have electricity? I'm sure the rent itself must be millions because it's a massive place. They have an all-in-one workshop. So now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, Wolfie is the best and just trying to kiss ass. No. I've met businessmen. There are overhead costs. There are stock costs. There are days when people don't want to buy anything. So, and his business has been there for 15 years or so, 13 or 14, 15 years. I really think, in order to make it happen, you really have to have a credibility. And the biggest thing, when I was at Wolfie's bike shop, I saw the ruler, Dubai ruler. He had visited the shop. I was like, woo! I couldn't believe my eyes. And then I saw Sheikh Mohammed's son. He also uses, some of the bikes that he has. So I was like, if the ruler, who's an epitome of quality, leadership, and who wants the best in the world, comes down to Wolfie's shop, I mean, there shouldn't be any other question. And see, like, for instance, I'm the industry leader I'm the best at what I do. I would charge a premium for my services. So I think Wolfie's charging a premium for something that he's really good at. And, I'm just saying that my experience with Wolfie has been amazing, has been phenomenal. My bike feels absolutely new. The feeling is different. I was able to do 30 kilometers of the Oceanic Triathlon, for which I got the bike ready, and it was a completely different experience from what I had before. And Wolfie's a caring guy. He didn't have to send me an SMS. He didn't have to send me a message. And after the race, asked me, "So Loy, how was the bike? How was the race?" So this, for me, speaks volumes about that guy. You can call it kiss ass, you can call it whatever. But for me, if someone is so passionate about his business, it speaks volumes, It really speaks volumes. And the thing that, I think one other thing that really stood out in my mind, I spoke to King, I spoke to Noel, and I just asked him, "Sir, how is it working?" I was waiting for some juicy gossip that they would tell me, something controversial. So how's it working here? How is Wolfie? This is the one thing that when you hear it from others, it's powerful. But when you hear it from your own employee, it's totally something else. Because seldom, if ever, does an employee speak highly about his boss. So I asked these guys, "So how's it with Wolfie?" And this is the thing what he said. He's King, I think King said, he's like, normally if you have a boss, an arbab, they'll come whenever they want, they'll go whenever they want. They can just take a espresso, say, check the cash register. Okay, made the millions, good. I'm going to play billiards. I'm going to play. What he told me is, Wolfie, as the owner, he comes just like everyone else. He works like everyone else. And he takes interest like everyone else. And he's just there. If he doesn't work harder, he's working exactly like everyone else. And he doesn't do it just for the money. It's his passion. He really loves what he does. And I asked him, does he go around explaining to everyone? He said, yes. Anyone comes to him, he goes there. He takes care of them. He asks them what they want. And, what surprised me was I did ask Wolfie many questions. Many questions. It was crazy. I think I could irritate the socks out of even a cupboard. He never lost his patience even once. He was just explaining. And mind you, he's a businessman. He has to take care of his business. He still took care of a client who was just a very average, very ordinary, not a big spender. In fact, some of the other things that I wanted to buy, like the GPS tracking system, he spoke about it, but when he asked me what do you want to use it for, and I told him I'm just going to be at home. He said, then don't take it. It's no use. It'll not serve the purpose. So, the only criticism, if there was any, is that you will be paying money, worthwhile money, for something that is an investment for life. So if you don't feel it, you're worth it. If you don't feel you are worth it, then yes, it would be expensive. But if you feel you're adding something that is for a machine that takes you like 5 times or 10 times faster than your running pace, and your life depends on it, and if you feel that is worth it, then there are absolutely no criticisms against Wolfie. I think Wolfie's a straight shooter. He's a really genuine guy. I met him, and I've had the honor of meeting him and his wife. They're nice people. The workshop is amazing. The professionals they are amazing guys. I mean, the workshop is like heaven, And mind you, this is from a guy like me who is a very average earner. My bike is not expensive. It's just, I think, roughly 20,000 or something like that. It's not expensive at all. It's for the sport of triathlon. It's not expensive at all. He could have brushed me aside and said, oh, this is not a customer worth spending time on. But he gave me his time, he gave me his expertise, he gave me his resources, he gave me his friends, and he gave me his colleagues. So for me, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Wolfie's bike shop. And, I would honestly say that if you're really looking to invest is the right word, not spend, invest in your safety, in an amazing machine, I think you should definitely have a look at Wolfie's. Have a look at Wolfie's, check out the expertise, and experience what I experienced firsthand. So, Loy from LoyMachedo.com, and remember this, I don't just recommend anyone just like that. But for me, Wolfie's bike shop was a wow. It's not just the brands that he sells, it's the experience, it's the expertise, and it is like the passion that they have for what they're doing. So, Loy from LoyMachedo.com and LoyMachedo.com, recommending Wolfie's bike shop and dealing, yes, with the criticisms that people have with regards to the business. So, let me know what you think. Love to hear from you. Goodbye for now.